I repeat that question again. Who was connected with the Gestapo here in Karuizawa?
As I don't know anything about Gestapo activities in Japan, I don't know...
Mr. Spahn, do you mean to tell me that as a representative of the German government, of the German embassy here in Karuizawa, you do not know who the Gestapo was?
Yes, I say I don't think it's right to speak about Gestapo activities.
Why?
Why? Because I don't think that Mr. Meisinger was able to do anything like Gestapo activities in
You
Japan
mean
at all.
like Warsaw?
Yes, that's... he was not head of a police force like he had been in Warsaw.
But you said before that Mr. Meisinger was in charge of the police force here.
He was police attaché of the...
Police attaché. But I am trying to define the word, Mr. Spahn. I'm trying to get the word so that it will make sense, so it will not sound like double talk. Would you explain that again now? Mr. Meisinger was attached to the police force here. Is that correct or isn't it?
Might be not correct. He was representing the German police to the Japanese inner ministry, and he had, besides that, some police duties.
Police duties. Let us define the police duties. If the Japanese were policing their own country, then what would be the police duties of the Germans here in Japan?
To give passports to the Germans here, and to see after the registration with the consulates and so on.
For all the Germans here, is that right?
Yes, that's all.
And it required a full staff for 2 years with you in the staff to just handle those duties alone.
I think my English is very bad because
I think,
thought,
Mr. Spahn, it is very well understood.
I think I had explained for several times that I wasn't in the staff of Mr. Meisinger. I didn't belong in any way to Mr. Meisinger.
But you did work with Mr. Meisinger.
I worked with the German ambassador, and my comrades here worked with the German embassy departments, and I had very few connections with Mr. Meisinger.
But, Mr. Spahn, the main question at the moment is working in the embassy and being so close to all the political affiliations and problems at hand. You would know all the things that had happened and all the things that didn't happen. Now, knowing those things, surely you would know who the Gestapo was here in Karuizawa.
As you are always talking about Gestapo, I don't think there would be the right expression in connection with Mr. Mozana here.
I see. Well, would you give the right expression then?
That he was some sort of secretary of Mr. Meisinger, and he was staying here at Karuizawa.
How do you spell his name?
Mozana? M-O-S-A-N-E-R.
And his first name, please?
This is Alarich. A-L-A-R-I-C-H.
R-I-C-H.
How old were you when you joined the Nazi Party?
Old?
Yes.
I was 22.
22 years old. And what city in Germany were you in?
In Berlin.
In Berlin. I see. Were you at any time in uniform as a soldier of the German army?
Yes, I have been a soldier of the German army during that war.
Were you called into service actively during such time as Germany was at war?
Yes, I was 2 years. I participated in the battle in France and also in the battles on the Eastern Front from beginning until my own wounding.
I see. And what rank were you?
I was first lieutenant.
First lieutenant. I see. And how come you were discharged from the army back to civilian life and into...
Because I was not able for front service in consequence of my wounds. I had shot through the left breast.
I see. Where did you leave from when you came to Japan by submarine?
We started from Lorient and went ashore in Penang.
Where was that?
Penang.
Penang. You went ashore in Penang. That's from the German submarine.
Yeah.
Then you came by a Japanese ship.
Airplane.
Airplane from Penang.
Did you have anything to do with getting supplies from Japan back to Germany, or an exchange of supplies? Or?
Material supplies? No.
Yes.
It was not. My duties were only confined to the German affairs here.
Well, were there any exchanges of supplies between Germany and Japan?
I'm not informed about that, but I think until shipping was becoming very difficult, there was some exchange of supplies.
Have you any further questions?
No, I think not. But your duties were entirely political.
They were political, and your question is still unanswered.
Well, I mean that there's little difference, of course, between the party, between the Nazi party and the government. In other words, the party practically is the government, and it always works in the realm of politics, I would say, wouldn't you?
Yes, but it was another thing in foreign countries. Foreign countries, the political tasks were matter of the ambassador, because the ambassadors were directly responsible to the Führer, Vice Chancellor, and they handled all political matters and gave their instructions also to the party head. And therefore there was a sort of subordination of the party head to the ambassador. And
of course, the ambassador was a leading member of the party, though, himself.
Not so. He didn't play any especially big role in the party, Mr. Stammer.
But I mean, of course, Mr. Stammer would not have been ambassador had he not been a member of the party. The government wouldn't have sent a non.
Yes, he was very close
member.
to Mr. von Ribbentrop, and this was a special reason to entrust him with the task of an ambassador to Japan. But he was not a member of the inner circle of party leaders, the highest
Such as Hermann Goering or...
Yes, to say that. And the party thought it very important that Germans abroad, especially also Japan-controlled areas, were well provided with daily necessities and showed good organization, a good unity, spirit of unity and of political common sense, also to the country of their staying. And because the work of the German colony in Japan was becoming voluminous, so that some professional head of the party activities in Japan was needed, and perhaps also some staff of professional party functionaries. Therefore, I was sent to Japan, but I had to come without any assistance. And, here to work was only the honorary assistance of all Germans. This answer upon that question, why during wartime special